I see Deidre's there. Hello, hello, hello. Sometimes, oh no, I forgot my drink. Hold down the fort. I think it's just you and I, Deirdre, so um, I can just grab drink. Um, Sometimes you just need to clear your table off. That's where I'm at. I had started to sort of deconstruct this deck, and there's two reasons I'm going to do this live, even though it just may be Deirdre and I chit-chatting about it. It's just easier in some ways, right? If I know, I feel like this is going to be, it would be a difficult one for me to be able to edit, because we're going to not just flip through the cards, but kind of deconstruct the cards, so to speak, or kind of figure out what's going on here. And those are the hardest for me to edit. So I thought it would be just easier I needed to kind of set this to rest so I could shuffle it and start to use it. And I just thought it would be easier to come on live, being perfectly clear. Hello, everybody coming in. I'm going to try to stay somewhat succinct for people watching this back. This was an interesting deck and let me know if anybody has this deck or not. I hadn't heard anything about it. I don't know when it came out. Let me see. Well, it came out last year, self-published. I hadn't heard anything about it. And I had seen Ascension Waves, and I put her link in the description box for if you want to check out her walkthrough. I had just stumbled on her walkthrough of this deck, and I was like, I've never even seen that deck before. And the idea of the Middle Earth, and it felt like it was probably a animistic style or shamanistic style deck, which I'm interested in. I don't really love circle decks, to be honest, but the artwork seemed really beautiful, and so I ordered it. I thought I ordered it from Amazon, so don't let this fool you like it fooled me. And it says it on the Amazon, but I was so excited when I saw it on Amazon. Excuse me, allergies, so voice is a little funky. Hello, to Belgium. I thought it was like $15 on Amazon. I was like, holy goodness, like, why is this deck so cheap? Ordered it. It kind of bounced all over the place from Amazon. I had some issues, and when it finally came, I was like so psyched. And when I picked it up, it was just the book. Again, fair price for the book for sure. But I was like, oh no, where do I get the cards? And so then I had to hunt down the cards, which came from the UK. And so those came in. And so yeah, it was a little bit of a, this way, that way, trying to get a hold of the pieces. You can get both the deck and the book on her website. I just thought, wow, that's on Amazon, super cheap. I'm going to grab it. If it's ever super cheap on Amazon, read the fine print, because it's probably a reason why. It's probably just a book. Hello, Miss Nikki. I know we're just gonna check out this deck so I have more work to do today, and so I'm trying to be productive. And one of those, I don't need this in my ear. One of those things of being productive is let's take a peek at this deck. So I know it was kind of backwards way of introducing the deck, but that's how I saw it. Ascension's Wave. I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. And then I did finally get a hold of both of the pieces to put together. So, okay, how are we going to do this? I think we're gonna again. This is not going to be a lot of people's favorite style of doing a walkthrough, and I understand that. But this is kind of how I like to do certain things when there's like pieces to it, or there are suits to it, or there is some way in which I think understanding how the deck works is important to probably utilizing it to its fullness. Obviously, you can just pull a card and read and just do your thing, right? But this is how I process. one of the problems that I had was that this is very much based on what the, oh, so let's just 2 seconds here. I know I'm so terrible today. So this is called the Oracle, the Middle Earth Medicine Oracle, and it's created by Carolyn Carey. And the artwork, and this is something I was really glad that they talked about, was the artwork is by Brenda May, and the art was created specifically for this deck, because sometimes you don't know, right? If is this just somebody's random artwork and they pulled it together to to make an oracle deck. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, right? But this was the artwork in this deck was made specifically for this deck. And what I really liked is that we have sort of a message from the artist, because she really talks about how she was daunted, when Carolyn Carey came to her to illustrate this deck. She was daunted because she felt like in order to really illustrate the deck, she really did need to understand the concepts that built the basis of this deck. And so, so she went through that, and then just the timing, making 78 paintings is no small feat in a certain amount of time. I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to try not to sneeze. She's an artist, obviously professionally trained artist, but she's also is a clinical psychologist. And so she felt like between the concepts of the creator and obviously her skills as an artist, but then also her knowledge or information base as a clinical psychologist did help her to really connect with the ideologies in the cards and be able to depict them in such a way that she hopes is useful. So I really liked that we kind of got that back end view, because sometimes decks are created by the creators, right? They have an idea for a deck, they do the paintings for the deck, and all of that type of thing. But sometimes, the deck's creators are not artistic, or they don't have the time, or whatever that might be. And so they hire somebody to paint the decks, for draw or paint or whatever, to create the artwork for the decks. And, sometimes they're just going to be artists who are just going to say, okay, give me this, blah, 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 and they put it on. Sometimes they're really involved with the process. And so it's kind of neat to see her experience trying to, figure out the concepts and be sure that she understood the concepts, and then be able to draw them in the way that she hopes will help us as the users be able to connect with it. I know I'm babbling about it, but I did think that was, I really appreciated being able to see that, and to be able to know for sure that the images were created for the deck, which does make a difference sometimes. So one of the issues that I had, though, is that this Wheel of the Soul's Return is the basis for the system. And me, I don't have great eyesight. And so even with my glasses, I had a really hard time. This is laid out really great to be able to understand it, but I had a hard time seeing that. And so that was, I don't know if noises are popping up here. Let me, Thank you for the links, Miss Nikki. Let me mute my computer. There we go. Miss Nikki has links up in the description. If you're watching this back, those links will still show up. And so Miss Nikki has links for the actual artist's website, but also for where you can get the book itself on Amazon. But again, I don't, at the time of this filming, if you're watching this in the future, they only had the book on Amazon. I did not see where you could get the deck and the guidebook on Amazon. So if you see it on Amazon, it's most likely that it is just the book. Anyways, let's see if I have another tab, because I do want to tab this. This to me is like the most important page here, because I think that she does a really good job of laying it out, and this is great, but I couldn't see it. I had a hard time seeing it, and I do think it's really important to understanding the system. And so I took a screen, picture, like there's a little app I use called Scan Pro or something like that. But anyways, it lets you scan, almost like more like a scanner, so it takes, and then you can make it black and white so the text pops out. It's still a little bit messy, but it allowed me to be able to see it better. So you have, the whole deck is based on this idea of the Wheel of the Soul's return. Let me try and move in more. Hopefully that is how. It may be completely blurry. I don't know. If somebody wants to let me know if this is useless, because it's completely blurry. But I have the cards here. Now, one thing that I will say, if you order this, I'm so sorry for Isabel. If you order this from her, I would send a message and ask that she not put rubber bands. She had rubber bands kind of holding the deck like this, to a rubber band on either side. And I will say that it kind of split the top. It's not the best cardstock on the planet. It's not the worst. But it kind of made a little goof there, and I think a goof on the back side because of the rubber bands. I meant to send her a message and just, I don't want a replacement on it, but just that maybe the rubber bands aren't going to be the best way to have this into the bag itself. But we'll come back to that in a minute. And as you can see, I have already edged the deck. There are 3 suits, and you can see they are really clearly delineated with the colors. And so I went ahead and colored the sides so that when I shuffle them in, they will, they'll have that mixed color there. So that does not come this way. They're just white. Okay. So you can see, though, that at the center of the wheel is the self. And so, there's this really gorgeous artwork. Again, we will go through the cards. I just want to get the concept. This is just, again, I know whenever I do these kind of videos, I get lots of great compliments and lots of mean messages. I know this is not a favorite way to look at these, but it's the way that my brain processes. If you want to see how I process an oracle deck, this is what it looks like. I did all of this before I started to do, and went and laid everything out. What I'm going to do right now, I've done this because this is how I process. So at the center of the wheel is the self. And then there are 3 outer realms to the deck, and they really do kind of speak about movement. So the first card, let me put these in piles. I promise we'll kind of look at stuff normally in a second, but let me just try to, because I think it's important, because I think that it's what makes a deck like this stand apart from a regular just thematic oracle deck, is that there was a lot of intention about what the concepts and how to work with the concepts. And I think that if you don't really grasp it, you're going to lose a big chunk of it if the depth of the deck. So it has one of the outer realms is the gathering. And this is a time, so this is really speaking to the individual and the journey that we are on. The Wheel of the Soul's return is really talking about the individual's journey that they're on. And so the gathering time, and again, I'm not an expert at this. I did not make this system. I'm just trying to figure it out with the rest of you. But from what I can gather, the gathering is when we're really gathering in experiences, we're gathering in information, we're gathering in knowledge, and then within the realms, and we're going to look at these realm by realm, but within the realms, then there are overseers. There are an overseer. I think a single overseer, although it seems to be double names. And then there are 3 places with categories, which we're going to look at in a second. So we'll come back to this in a minute. But there is the first one is the gathering, where we're gathering in information, experiences, knowledge, and all of that. And then the second The second of the outer realm is the deeper knowing. And this is when we take all of that information, right? We've gathered in information, we've gathered in experiences, and then we go deep with that. And then we start to, accumulate wisdom. We start to sort of figure things out. We start to apply this to ourselves and to the world around us. And so we start to go deep with it. So we have the deeper knowing card. Which is, again, her artwork is very evocative. It's very texture based, which is something that appeals to me. There's a lot of textures. I'm gonna guess maybe it's like acrylic paint, so you can see actual texturing there. So my guess is maybe oil or acrylic, probably acrylic, but I'm not an expert. But they're really beautiful. So it's like that going deep and entering into the cave kind of feeling with that outer realm. And then the last of the outer realm is the area of the offering. And I like this energy with the arms spread wide, because, and you can see, because the overseer is a magician and the priestess. So we've gathered up information, we've gathered our own experiences, we've gone deep, right, into the crevice, into the cave, and we start to really work with that understanding that we have gained from these things. And then we reach the phase in which we can share that information outwards, or you really utilize that information or that wisdom that we've gained. Experience turned it into wisdom, and now we can actually utilize that, whether that's manifesting things in our own life, whether that's sharing things with other people. But those are sort of the three main outer realms that are there. Now, for each of the outer realms, there is an overseer. So in the area of the gathering is the hunter-gatherer, which makes sense, right? You're gonna you're gonna need a overseer or somebody who is going to get in and do the work and do those hunt things out, gather things up, do that sort of work. Whereas in the deeper knowing, we have the warrior and the ally card. And so they're going to stand with you as an ally. So you're gathering information, you're going on the warrior's path, but you also have your allies that are there with you. And then in the last realm, we have the magician and the priestess. Yeah, see, it's just super textured painting work. It's abstract, but there are people, there are figures in them. Some are more abstract than others. Has in a rough sense that feel of, say, Margaret Peterson tarot, except for there's figures in the Margaret Peterson tarot. That's the one that comes to mind the most. It's not at all, I can't see the button to hit buy. I don't think there's usually a button to hit buy. Oh, you're talking about maybe on the white website? I'm not sure. Maybe Nikki's going to try to help you. I'm not sure what you mean. But anyways, here's the artwork there. So then it goes into the next. So we have the outer realm, and each realm has an overseer. But then what it does is it goes into the actual journey, and there are stages, or there are different aspects, the same aspects for each of these areas. There are dwellings, the stage of life it represents, the archetypes, the resources, and the tools. So this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing, but hold tight with me, because I think that it's helpful to process this through. I can feel myself cringing, because I know this is going to be kind of crazy. So let me try to go back out here again. So let me go back out here again, and let's take a look, and you'll see what I mean here. So this is the first realm. It is the realm of the gathering. And then in that realm, there is an overseer, and so an energy that you're going to be working with, sort of like a guide or a spirit guide, it feels like, right? Within each of these outer realms, there are 3 places. So for this first one, there is the place of spirit. There is the place of the, oh, do I have these messed up? Oh no. Okay, I see. I'm going to do it this way. Okay. Sorry. I feel like people are going to throw things at me. Okay. So there are 3 places, there are 3 different areas here. The first one starts in the place of spirit, and what is the stage of life is pre-birth. We're gonna show these cards up close, I promise. We have the stage of birth. This is the archetype of the dreamer. The resource that we have here is dreaming. So the actual dreaming in the dream world is our resource. I know, Naomi, I'm not doing it any justice. Try to hang with me, because I don't think this matters in the long run when you start to use it. But I think getting an idea that these things are going to play out over and over again will help to at least understand what it's doing. We'll do some readings with it, and I feel like this is just my brain, which is the message I get a lot, that I just complicate things, but I think in the end it helps. So then we have, the last thing is the tools that we have, and in this case, it's the smoke and the veil, right? So we have the dwelling, which is the spirit. We have the stage of life. So we have all these stages of life when we're done. And we're going to look at them in that context too. So we have the stage of, well, here, we'll look at that right now so you can kind of see. So for example, we have all these stages of life: pre-birth, rebirth, puberty, early adulthood, parenting, adulthood, maturity, aspiring elder, and then becoming an actual elder. So we have all of those cards. So would that be 9 cards that speaks to the stage of birth it is. We also have 9 then archetypes. We have the archetype of the dreamer, the innocent, the rebel, the I can't read it, so we'll get there in a second, the artisan, the thespian, the sovereign, the sacred fool, and the wise elder. So we also see this sort of growing trajectory of an archetype. It's sort of going of becoming somebody different. And then we also have 9 tools. So we have 9 dwellings, we have 9 stages of life, we have 9 archetypes moving in this growth pattern, we have 9 resources at our disposal in those areas, and we have 9 tools that can aid us as we are becoming who we're supposed to become, right? Going through the process of becoming. So I'm just going to go this way with this one so we can see it. So in this particular realm, the second place is the crown in the magical garden. I would say it's just the magical garden. This has the archetype, the stage of life of rebirth. It has, now you can really see the colorations here. We'll look at these closer. The archetype is the innocent. Then we have the resource of that archetype is imagination, right? So the innocence, childhood, play, all of that kind of energy is our resource for that is imagination. And the tool for that is the rattle. So again, we have dwelling, we have the stage of life, we have the archetype. What is the resource that we have in this cycle, and what is the tool that we have in this cycle? And then the last place for this one is the untamed forest, which I love. And then here we have the life stage of puberty. Nobody wants to go back there. We have the archetype of the rebel. We have what is the resource for the rebel? Individuality. And then we have the tool for it as the drum. So if you just think about this stage, we have the untamed forest. It is just woods and forests in all of its natural glory, right? We have that stage of puberty when things are just happening, right? Hormones are bouncing everywhere. We have all of this stuff that's happening internally that is expressing itself externally as the rebel. And the resource to the rebel is our sense of individuality. We're becoming who we're going to be. We have all of this energy here. And then the tool is the drum, where you have that rebel teenager who's out there banging the drum of their own individuality. So you can really see, I hope, you can really see the thought that has gone into it. This is just one realm, right? So we have, this is the realm of the gathering. It is the life stages of pre-birth, rebirth, and puberty. Very active, starting out energy, trying to figure out who we are. We're gathering in resources. We're gathering experiences in. We're gathering in information, but we don't really have the tools yet for this to be, for us to be really wise or do anything with it. It's just a time and an area of life in which we're just living life and gathering in those experiences so that we can utilize those later. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna, oh dear, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably shouldn't have done that. Can I undo it? Let's see. I probably should not have done that. Okay. Let's do, oh, no, that goes there. That goes there. Oh, I shouldn't have done it. Spirit, pre-birth, the dreamer, dreams, and smoke in the veil. Okay. I think we can undo what I did. Rebirth, childhood, imagination, and the rattle. Okay. I think I fixed it. You're all probably just cringed. Okay. There we go. So we'll put that back the way it was. Okay, so that's that. So the second area is that area of deeper knowing here. Remember, that started with the chasm here going into the cave. We have the warrior and allies as our guides. So the first place that we have is the cave of intelligence. So we are now literally entering into the cave. I promise we'll flip through these real quick so that we can actually look at, I just saw that, but look, there's somebody in the cave. There's something in the cave. Anyways, we'll come back through it. But the stage of life is, the place is the cave of intelligence. The place of life is the early adulthood. Oh, we can see that coming into stronger focus. Okay. The archetype is the apprentice. The apprentice has as its resource repetition. We're going to utilize this over and over again, right? And that's how we're going to learn. That's how we're going to become more intelligent. That's how we're going to retain information, right? And then the tool for this is the totem. So we'll have to read about how that might be, because I think that's interesting. I love that the next place is in the creativity cauldron. The time of life here is parenthood. The archetype is the artisan. It's all about web making here. Commitment is needed as a parent, whether you're parenting children, whether you're parenting a project, whatever creative expression that is for you. There's the resource that you have is commitment, and the tool that you have is your medicine bag that we have here. And then the third place in this realm is the crucible and fire of illusion. Beautiful artwork. The stage of life is adulthood. The archetype is the thespian. The resource is shape-shifting. Think about a thespian as maybe even an actor on a stage, and being able to shift and mold yourself to situations, and when you might need to be able to express differing things. So that shape shifting, and then the mask being the actual tool that you have at your disposal. So this is the second round when we're really diving in deep and we're starting to work with those things that we've gathered in the first stage. Hopefully this is going better as we go. I don't know. This may be a failure, but I felt like it was important. And here is where I get in trouble from Miss Nikki and probably Miss Jamie for feeling guilty about my way that I do things. Okay. So that is the second realm. So then the third realm is when we're really stepping into where we can start to offer this up outward, whether that's manifesting outward or teaching people outward. And this allies here are the magician and the priestess. And again, we have three places. The first place is the majestic garden, and the life stage is maturity, and the archetype is the sovereign. So now we're coming up there to the royalty aspect of things at higher level. But with that comes the resource of responsibility. We're pulling from this resource of responsibility in this particular stage. And the tool that we have is the talking stick. We need to be able to communicate well in this place. The second place in this area is the kingdom. See, now we're sort of ruling this kingdom area. Now, what I like is that there is an aspiring, an aspiring elder life stage, and then an actual elder stage, which we'll see next. Because, there is that space between where you're working towards becoming an elder energy, but you haven't quite made it yet. So I really do love that. So aspiring elder. The archetype here is the sacred fool. And the resource that we have is humor. Now, I do want to take a look at this one when we flip through the deck, because I think this is talking maybe more about the humors as well as humor and having a dose of humor. And the tool for that is the crystal. Last of the places in the deck is the mystery. I really love this card. Again, we'll zoom in on the cards in just a second. And then the final stage is adulthood, or I'm sorry, elderhood. We've fully become into the realm of the elder. And the archetype is the wise elder. And the resource is acceptance. And finally, then we have the actual staff tool. So I think this is really smart. See, I'll be honest with you, and this is why I'm probably doing it this way. What interests me most in decks these days, right? I have a lot of decks. I love all my decks. Tarot deck is a tarot deck is a tarot deck. I like to see new tarot decks come out, things that will interest me. But what excites me is this kind of thing where somebody's really thinking through whatever concept they're trying to dive into. They're really thinking it through and creating something very intentionally. And I just find that to be such a powerful expression, right? So I think let's do something. I'm going to play, let me make a couple piles here. Wait. Let's do it in order. Let's do it in order because I want to look at these together with their types, right? So, okay, I already messed something up. So give me 2 seconds here. So let's sort this out. This goes here. Let me get this in order correctly. Okay, so I'm going to put these in the order of their types. The allies. So that's kind of separate, but these are the ones that I want to be in their types. So we have place. Oh, this is going to get messy. See, this is where I should be able to pause. What I wanted to do is I wanted to get all of, okay, let's do it. We can do this. Let's do this. This is a place. This is a place. This is a place. Yes, this is what I want. No, this isn't going to work. Okay. Can we do? I really want this is what I'm trying to achieve, folks. Folks that are sitting here. Let me breathe for a second. I want to be able to look at these as like all of the stages of development, all of the dwellings, all of the, because we kind of looked at how they go, and I want to kind of see them in conjunction with each other, if that makes sense. We can do this. Let's just start with one here. So we have, there we go. This is how we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there we go. We got it. Just have patience. Okay, there we go. It just takes me a minute to figure it out, and then we'll do the next one, and that is a place. There we go. Okay. All right, we got it. Because as we flip through them, I want them to be together, if that makes sense. This is called Kelly's Brain in Action. It's a scary place, but it's mine. It's all I got. Okay. All right, so let's take these, then these, then these. Can't get that last one. Then these, then these. All right. There we go. That's, oh, look at. So now we can kind of see the sides. And then let's put these like that and this like that. Okay, we're going to have to rotate them as we go, but let's zoom in here. So now, hello, Jonathan. You are coming to witness me crash and burn. All right. I feel like it needs to be a bit brighter. Jamie's used to my coloration because she's my eyeballer for class, but I feel like this might need to be a little bit brighter. So let me brighten this up a little bit. Oops. Exposure. Oops, no. Hopefully that's better. We'll see if anybody says that's better. So here's some caveats about this deck. I'm going to talk through the actual stuff about the deck at the end, but I will say one of the caveats you'll see right away is that it's not always easy to see the text. And I'm not sure how they could have avoided this. I will say that with my glasses, I'm able to see it. Most of the time I can see it. I don't know how, with it being a round deck, they could have fixed this, because it would have been hard to put a band on the bottom, because it almost needs, because there's so much texture, it almost needs like a color background so that the text can pop out to see well. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to be able to see, because size wise, it's not a super big deck. If you look at like a normal size tarot card, it's a lot shorter than a normal size tarot card. I'll go through this a little bit better at the end. So they're relatively small things, and so you will really need something to cause that title to pop out a little bit better, if that makes sense. So that's one thing. But again, sometimes a system is just good enough that you work with it, and that's how I feel about this one. So here's the seer. Again, this stands at the middle of the wheel. When we look at our wheel that she has here, the seer, this is all about the progress of the self. And so the seer stands sort of as the self in the middle of all of this. Beautiful artwork. Okay, so now, yeah, I think we're gonna, I don't know. I don't know. Just bear with me. This is one of my favorite images here. I think I'm going to try to just hold it. It's going to be easier. So the first three that we're looking at up close are the outer realms. So these are the three outer realms. The realm of the gathering, the realm of deeper knowing. I love this. Enter into the cave. And then the realm of the offering, where we're going to be able to manifest it outward. The helpers, or the allies, or they feel like guides, I would say, of each of those realms are the hunter-gatherer, the warrior and the ally. You can see here almost a, not almost, it is more of a collage style to it, but it really ties in well with, that's even kind of collagey, but what you'll see is the straight art and the collage art all blend really well together. I think that for the most part, they do really, really well. And so here we have the warrior and the ally. And then the last of the guides is the magician and the priestess energy that we have from the last realm. So then this gets us into the places, right? These are all of the places. We have the cave of intelligence. We have the creativity cauldron and the crucible of fire and illusion. I mean, it really does have that feel of, yeah, that's, yeah, that the round shape I'm not a fan of, but sometimes you just got to overlook it because it's such a smart system, right? Here we have the spirit. I really love this spirit card. For me, spirit is that source. It is that point of origin in which everything comes out of. And so I really like this source or the spirit here. I think this title's a bit long. I think this could have just been called The Magical Garden. I love this untamed forest, but as you can see here, it's probably easier to see on the screen than it is in person. It's a little bit difficult in all the chaos of the beautiful image to see it. And again, it's a hard fix when you're, obviously this is an indie deck, when you're trying to create a deck and get that to come across, to be the right size, to fit onto the card, to try to get it to see. It's hard. I, as a deck creator who's done it all myself, you know, you don't have a publication company behind you. It's difficult to manage all those things. It's just something needs to go behind this, or it needs to be bolder in some way for it to show up better. But I will say I can read it with my bad eyesight. So it's just that's a good example of how it doesn't sometimes work super well. The majestic garden. So I love this when you go from this untamed forest into the garden that is much more structured and put together in such a beautiful way. To the kingdom, right? So now we really have structure. We actually have a kingdom coming together. And finally, I think this is the last one. Yeah. Into the mystery, because now we kind of go back to source, but in a deeper way, because now we pass through all of these stages, if that makes sense. Okay, so then we go to the stages of life. Here we have early adulthood. We have parenting. I thought it was weird to have parenting before adulthood, but it happened that way back in my day. we were most often in the parenting stage before we were truly adults, right? Back in I'm probably the end of the generation in which we got out of high school and we got married and we started having children when we should have become adults first. But the parenting one, and especially if you go back, if you're watching this, not the whole thing, if you go back and see how that lines out, it's not just about parenting children, but it's about parenting creativity, parenting ideas, parenting projects, and that type of energy there. And then we have the adulthood. In my own self, I would probably put it the other way around. I would probably put adulthood and then parenting, which you can do. There's no numberings on these whatsoever. So the next one is adulthood. I love that image. I did something wrong. Here I thought I did so good. What did I do wrong? Am I going backwards? So sorry. I'm so sorry. This may just be for those of us who are watching. I may take this whole video down. What did I do wrong? Let's see what I did wrong. Early adulthood. Yeah, we started with early adulthood. Let me look here. Puberty. Let me try to get this right because I really do want to do this. Parenting. This is how it went. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is not good. Okay. Here we have pre-birth, rebirth. So I would again probably switch these. And again, there's no numbers on them, but in my own usage of this deck, rebirth would for me go first, pre-birth in that liminal space, onto puberty, onto early adulthood. Again, for me, I would say become an adult first and then become a parent, and then go into your maturity and your aspiring elder. You're meeting the sacred fool, but you have not yet become the sacred fool. And then into elderhood when you kind of reach that full fruition as part of the council of elders, if that makes sense, right? So that was the stages of, I will say here, let me show you this. Be careful if you're edging it. It was really easy on a round deck for the marker to all of a sudden slide. And because there is no real lamination on this, it's hard to get that off. I haven't tried to put alcohol on it, so I did that twice. But again, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but it might bother you. All right, so I'm going to do this. There, I know what I did wrong before. So then we have the archetypes here. Archetypes, but they're archetypes moving in that progression. You have the dreamer card. You have the innocent card. More of that kind of collage feel. You have the rebel, right? We move from childhood into that stage of being the rebel there. We start to buckle down. We become the apprentice. We then become the artisan. We're starting to actually be able to sculpt our craft. We are on the stage now of life as the thespian. We start to rule our life with the sovereign. We become the sacred fool. And then we step into the wise elder. So you can, what I like is that we have the archetypes, the 9 archetypes, but we have them really going in that order of becoming. This whole deck is a deck of becoming. If I haven't totally ruined that, that's the whole point for me of this seems to be, is this where it's the deck of becoming. So the next one are the resources that we have along the way. So we have the resources of dreaming. Powerful resource for me. We have the resource of imagination. I really love that card. I think that's just gorgeous. We have the resource of individuality, ourselves as an individual. The resource of repetition, doing it over and over again, being willing to do it over and over again until we get it right. We have the resource of commitment, staying committed to the path. We have the resource of shape-shifting, starting to learn to be who we need to be in particular times and moments. We have the resource of responsibility. I think a lot of people would see this as a burden, but responsibility is a resource to draw from when we are trying to build something that's structured. We have the resource of humor, which we're going to we're getting to the tools. 1, 2, 3, oh, wait, is this a tool? No, that's not a tool. Let me look here. Let me make sure I get it right. This is one of the things that I would say what I would also like. No, this is the last of the resources is humor. And then we get to, where was acceptance? I probably messed that up. Just ignore everything that I'm doing here. That goes down here. Okay, one of the things that I think would be useful in this is to have had the actual, so like have it say Tool, the smoke and the veil, Tool, the rattle, stage of life, have what the suit is, I think would be actually really helpful in all of these. Again, this is just thinking about how it is, because there's so many moving parts in the deck, which is, I think, what makes it work really well. I think having some key-ins to more than just the outer ring is telling us what realm it's in, but for the 9 dwellings, 9 stages of life, 9 archetypes, 9 resources, and 9 tools, I think I would have liked to somehow have that indicated on the card. Although the more that you use it, the more that you're going to be aware of it, right? And I think that then having this at your side is what's going to help you as you are getting started working with it. And truthfully, if something is a really good deck, it should be worth working with it. I know we're, and myself included, are ready to grab the next great easy thing, but the fact of the matter is that if it's worth working with, you're going to do the work and work with it. And I think this one's going to be worth working for myself. So then these are different tools that we have, and I've clearly messed something up because I'm missing certain tool. I'm missing a tool here. The smoke and the veil is a tool of the dreaming. And then here is the rattle. Here's the drum. So these kind of feel like shamanistic tools for the most part, is how I feel like these are going. Here we have the totems. Here we have the medicine bag. Whoops. Here we have the mask. I love that card. Here we have the talking stick. Who's holding it? Everybody be quiet and listen. That's both talking and listening tool. A crystal. The staff. And I don't know if acceptance is one of the resources. So ignore that one. The last one would be the staff, when you kind of become Merlin, right? Or you become Gandalf and you're holding the staff. Okay. This is like the biggest fail. Okay. We're going to scroll out here. Here are the backs, which I think are really gorgeous. She talks about the mandorla. A mandorla is a PowerPoint when you have 2 circles that overlap. That shape here in the middle, that seed in the middle, is the mandorla. I talked a lot about mandorlas in one of my classes. I can't remember which one, but they're quite powerful. And so I love that she has that on the back and there. Okay. So if you choose to get this deck, I really would recommend, that you pay a lot of attention to page 13. This really lays it out well. The center of the real, the outer realms, the overseers, and then these are the 5 stages that we have of dwelling, stage of life, archetypes, resources, and tools. And so between this and this, you have a really good understanding of the system. So I really like that she put that clearly on here. I just had to make it larger so that I could see it comfortably if I'm in the middle of a reading. I don't really want to struggle too much to figure out what I'm looking at, what I'm dealing with. Again, the more that I use it, the more that will be clear. The deck came with this bag with just this backing on it. I really like this. I don't really like names of decks on, I don't know what's in here. Oh, here again, and this came in this great little card. I can't read this. Let's zoom in on it a little bit more. So like in person, I can't read this. This is amazing. And if this was like this size, this would really be perfect. So I might see if she will release that image to people that have it in larger form so they can print it, because this is really pretty, and a lot of you will be able to read it, but even with my glasses, I can't read it. I mean, I can kind of, because I kind of know what some of them are, but I can't at all in the middle. So I really like this, and I really like this. It's just that I couldn't see it. So again, this maybe took me 30 minutes, and it was well worth it to be able to have this in a large size so that I can quickly start to work with it. I think it's worth it. And so then it came with that. It came with that card here. And then obviously it came with the cards. The card stock itself is not fabulous. It's not horrible. It's kind of just in between. It feels kind of similar, although better than, say, my Shaman's Oracle, which is one of my most used Oracle decks. It's kind of got a papery feel. It doesn't really have where it feels like it has a lot lamination to it of any sort. But again, like with my Shaman's Oracle that I destroy all the time, it's well worth it to me to work with it despite that. So let's see. Let's give us a good shuffle roll. Now you can get this deck. I'm just going to give it a good wash. You can get this deck by itself. I'm not sure how you would do it by yourself without anything there, so you can get the deck by itself or with the book. I personally think you probably want the book to be able to work with this deck. All right, I just wanted to give it a good mix here, and then I will shuffle it. I know I've lost everybody because I've confused everybody, Miss Nikki. That's okay. That's okay. We sometimes do well, and sometimes we do not. Get them picked all up here. Okay. I just want to give it a good, because I don't think I can riffle. Well, let's try it. Maybe I can riffle shuffle it. And again, this was not sent for the purpose of review. This was just a deck that I had stumbled upon. And the concepts of this are ones that are really strong to me. So well worth it, even though I'm not a big fan of circle decks. So I think this would be, for myself, I would probably use this deck similarly to like my Shaman's Oracle, where I would use it in ancestor readings, which is something I do a lot of. I would say this would be great in terms of working sort of with the stages of self, working in liminal space, working on, your own act of becoming, the own process of becoming. I think this would be a really good, I'll show you an example of what's in the book. Let's pull a couple cards and show you what is in the book. Okay, so if we pulled 3, and I don't know, I would have to think about like what kind of spread would I do with these. Because I could see where there's probably this is probably going to turn into a specific spread for me. Let me see if I can zoom in further. Let's go down here. I know. I hope so. Oh, I can't even do my whole thing. Okay. So let's take a look at what the book gives us in terms of information. Well, first we'll just look at the information ourselves. So here we have a place. The magical garden is a place. So kind of coming out of the magical garden, we have the having to go through the stage of puberty being, if this is present stage, if this is past, present, and future, this would be in that stage of puberty, in that stage of exploring things and developing our sense of self and trying things on, a little bit of energy that's kind of bouncing all over the place. But going through the stage of puberty takes us to eventually that stage of the sacred fool. That story prompts, Sue said story prompts. I think that would be great too. I definitely think you would want positions. Kind of look here. Let's look at the book for a second. let's look up what the Sacred Fool says. Now, here comes another caveat here. This has got to stay honest here. I do wish that this is a hard one. This is a hard call for the actual creator, because this is a system that has very specific suits, right? And so these are ordered in the book in the suits. And so if you can't just look them up alphabetically, and that's not listed on the card. So you really do need to kind of know the suits. However, what I found to be very easy is I just put a color dot, green, red, and purple on the beginning of that. And so if I pick a purple card, all I just do is go over here, and it's pretty fast to find the Sacred Fool. So even though it's not alphabetical, which makes it the easiest to try to find a card, I don't find this. I have played around with this. I've kind of worked my way through trying to figure out what's going on, and I haven't had any issue going to the basic section, and it's just pretty quick to be able to see and find the card and then be able to go. You can't just flip in the book, but it's not that difficult. So I don't think that's a big deal. Now, what I love in this book, let's move this because it's getting in my way. What I've been using is mostly this sentence here. So let's zoom in a little bit. Every time I say let's zoom in a little bit, I zoom out. It gives you the title of the card, the Sacred Fool, and then it gives you, for each of the cards, it gives you sort of an I statement. And I really like this. I've probably used this the most. I'm willing to whatever the task. Oh, that one's not as helpful, but the other ones you'll see are. I'm sorry, I cannot reach my phone to make it be quiet. Yeah, I can. My sister's interrupting. Open to discover the truth. I know the path, watched over, not hidden. I can reveal who I am. For sure it creaks and groans. From the ego's self-centered cries, don't see me. But it escapes, running free. I am but a smile, a laugh. Oh me, oh my. Was that really me running into the distance? Kind of coyote energy, right, of the Sacred Fool. And so then it gives us a lot of text on the Sacred Fool, an area, and then an area for us to write our own notes. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, though, just so that you can get an idea of what the text is in the books. The wise and the Sacred Fool provides truth, balance, play, recreation, destruction, creation, and change. Taking ourselves too seriously is not always ideal. There is always a place for humor and for our own fool to emerge. Recognizing we make mistakes, that we need to be transparent, and very importantly, not beat ourselves up over what and who we are. I need that card, right? We are human and carry the human condition of dysfunction. We are not infallible and we are not perfect, but we are on a journey to look at what has been part of our history, the wounds that have sculpted us, what we have made those wounds to mean, and the ways we have acted because of them. When we finally get to see our more negative habits, there can be a sense of relief as well as heartache. The Fool, as a great ally and trusty companion at this time, can support us to stay open, not fall into victim, and have fun with what we are discovering, preventing us from wallowing in self-pity. The Fool helps us to illuminate where we go wrong and what needs to be seen, with the capacity to reveal the truth. We become phoenixes, capable of rising from the ashes. The Fool will bring us change that speaks in parables and paradoxes. We will stand on the stage of life and freely declare we have got things wrong, that we are not the all-knowing, and that we are willing to learn from our mistakes. It is very heartwarming when someone is honest about their dysfunctions and can own that in themselves, provided that they have a solution to overcoming it. So owning, your fallibles, right? Owning the ways in which we aren't perfect, but still also working towards addressing those, right? It's not enough for you're just a fool if you just say, oh, that's just me. I'm always doing this, stupid thing. But you're a sacred fool when you say, Yeah, that's just me. I'm working on it. These are the things that I'm putting into place to try to work on it, right? You understand that you aren't perfect, and you understand where those areas of falling down are, but you're actually working towards learning and becoming stronger and becoming better, depending on what the circumstances is. So I really like that. It's obviously a good thing for me. I can acknowledge that I apologize too much for my existence, but I'm working on it, That's an apt card for me, right? So that's what you get with the Sacred Fool. And you get that with all of the cards, where it shows the title, Crystal Show Me Clearly Who Am I When There Is Nothing to Hide, an black and white image of the cards, a poem on one side, and then if it is a card that is one of the dwellings, the stage of life, the archetypes, the resource, it connects. Sometimes it will connect it with that in the bottom when it is useful, when it's going to be helpful. So you get a nice amount, and the poetry is really beautiful. The artwork is very beautiful, and then you have this sort of depth of personal analysis, I would say, going deep and doing sort of that inner work information here. And so I feel like it's something that you could pull for that sort of poetic inspiration, for the inspiration of the actual image on the card, or if you really wanted to do some working on what you should be doing, right? And so, like, if you think about this as being maybe a deck, which I would think of it as, sort of a deck about becoming, right? So you could pull, this is just, where I could think of off the top of my head, but you might say pull a card for who I am right now. Oh, not really. But maybe who I want to be right now. But, that's that teacher's phase, right? You're holding the staff, and you are, in some ways, you are communicating knowledge, and you are communicating wisdom. So being aware of that, where it is that you need to go next, right? You need to jump into your imagination. You need to be able to utilize your imagination, give it free reign as you move forward into the next phase. And then you could do sort of an ally, or what is going to help me get there. But you could also do two. So you could either do just what's going to help me to get there. I like the trifecta of the 3 circles. That feels very Triskel-y. And so the talking's open communication, knowing when to be quiet and when to speak. Because the talking stick to me is where, no, I am, but I'm just saying, in terms of a reading, it would be funny to get that, because you're thinking that, all right, this is where, I need to be doing some work here, but thank you, Miss Nikki. Talking stick for me is again, that's going to be what's going to aid me to move into really into my imagination. When do I actively engage, and when do I pause and listen? Because if I understand a talking stick, right, whoever's holding the talking stick is doing the talking. Whoever isn't holding the talking stick is being quiet and is listening. And we need both of those things. We need to actively engage our listening, and we need to actively engage our talking when the time is right. And so that is going to sort of aid us as we go forward. Now, you could also then pull maybe a card from the bottom of the deck, where what could be a stumbling block. So you say, okay, well, how do I read the any of these cards as stumbling blocks? Because all of these cards are definitely positioned as points of origin, and they're really neutral. They're not one thing or another. So that actually makes things easy, though, to read them in shadow or as a blockage. If the blockage is the mystery, then maybe, and this is a problem with me, maybe I'm so busy deep diving, right, which happens to me a lot, that I'm not taking the time to speak when I need to speak, or I'm not taking the time to listen when I need to be listening, because I'm too busy hunting and chasing after the mystery, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself. But right now, getting to tap into my imagination, this could be a blockage. This could be a stumbling stumbling block for me. So I think that's personally how I will probably move forward working with this deck, is pull a card for where I am right now, pull a card for where I'm going, pull a card for what's going to aid me in where I'm going, and then maybe pull that blockage card of what is going to sort of get in my way of what I'm immediately trying to achieve, if that makes sense. Yeah, this imagination card is really gorgeous. The artwork on this deck is just beautiful. I do wish it was larger. Let me zoom back out. I know this is like, again, all this that way and that way, but this is what I would say is, you know, a relatively standard tarot card. So this is not like an oracle size. You know, you're not looking at a big, of course it makes it easier to shuffle. I will say, because I have a larger circle deck in that fairy deck, I can't remember what it's called, but I have a larger circle deck that I find really difficult to shuffle. This one actually is not bad. This one shuffles actually overhand quite well, whereas I have a larger circle tarot deck, and it's harder to be able to shuffle than this. So I don't think I would recommend riffle shuffling it. I don't know if, let me see if I can find it again. I see where I nicked it. I think that it would peel. Again, it's, you know, circle decks aren't the best to riffle shuffle anyways. So I don't think, oh no, I can't find it. I keep seeing it as I shuffle. But I did find a brown that I kind of fixed any little nicks that I had there. So again, not the greatest cardstock. It's not a super expensive indie deck either. So, you know, the cardstock shows that, but I just think it's so beautiful. And there's so much going on that I really think it's, for me, it was worth it. I wasn't disappointed. So again, if I am the wise elder, but I'm moving towards being Gandalf, what's going to aid me is myself, relying on myself, trusting my inner voice, my inner seer. That's going to get me there faster. What's going to be a stumbling block is totem. So let's look that one up, because I was interested to see how she was talking about totems. So again, what I did is I just put a color dot, and I'll probably put a tab on the index, right? So I just put a color dot, and so I just have to go to the red color, and it's pretty easy to find the totems. I haven't found that to be difficult to work with, and that's a pet peeve of mine. If you're going to not have it alphabetical or not have it numbered, and it's not going to be in an order that's easy to be able to find it in the book, make a way so that your people using the deck can quickly and not must fuss about too much to find the card. Little ones gather to me, so precious you come, like drops of magic in my hand, a memory of love. So let's see. We can be hunter and gatherers of our truth. I'm trying to see what's an idea. We love these little finds. So these are things that we've gathered together. Gather what you can to remind you of these days, for we do not know when you will call them to us. Give them a name, a word, a need to reminder. Oh, this does have an encouragement and a shadow on some of these cards. I'm not sure which ones it chooses to, but this has an encouragement and a shadow. So, collecting endless souvenirs from an experience for no real purpose, allowing them to gather dust on a makeshift altar. So this is gathering all of the, I don't know that totems is the best title for that, but you can certainly see that image there where you're gathering up the things. And this can be either really powerful, right? You're gathering the bits. You know, I look at my ancestor altar. It has specific crystals on it. It has specific sets of runes. It has specific types of candles. It has specific images. I'm just kind of looking. It has special salts that I use on my altar. So those are things that I'm gathering up and I utilize those. Those are pieces of power. But in shadow, you get too stuck gathering seeing the things and you're not actually using the things. So that's an interesting one to show up as the shadow, that I'm too, if my real way forward is in myself and my instinct and my intuition, and I get too sidetracked by collecting things that might help me, but I'm not actually using it, that's going to get in my way, right, of actually taking on the staff of Gandalf. So yeah, I really, this spread I think is going to work well. This is, again, please don't blame the spread on the creator. That's just how I think I'm going to approach it. I like to have a spread to use consistently, and kind of get a feel for how I would do the readings. And so that particular spread I think is going to work well for me. So yeah. So again, you can get the deck by itself. I personally think that you need to have the book to get the full usage of this deck. That's just my opinion. The book was $13 on Amazon, and I don't remember what I paid for the deck. So I bought the deck alone because I already had the deck. It wasn't too horribly priced on the deck. And again, you can kind of tell that in the quality, but I still want to work with the deck. So if you use all of the items they support, if you have many, it distracts. Yeah, no, I can definitely see the shadow side of that. So 33.50 GBD, is that like UK money? Is that pounds? Or I don't know what GBD is. I thought it was from the UK, but I could be wrong. It was definitely international for me. It didn't take horribly long to get to the US either. So, okay. There we have it. This really ticks a lot of boxes for me, in the sense I don't like round decks, so that's not my favorite, but I'm willing to work with it. This actually overhand shuffles quite well for a round deck, maybe because of the size, but it ticks the box in that it's working with archetypal energy. It's working with stages of development, which is something that I put, I have that in my journey system. I have that in my other little oracle deck that I'm using for class. So I like working with the stages of development. It has a progression growth in archetypal energy. I like working with archetypes. It has, again, kind of a shamanistic feel to it, the different realms, the different allies. Like, it just kind of ticks all of the thematic things that are things that I work with a lot and that mean a lot to me. I think this would visually look really good with my Shaman's Oracle, which I use all of the time, and I could really see utilizing these two together. I do often an ancestor reading where I pull a Shaman's Oracle and then I pull a secondary card to hone in on the energy, and I think this will work really, really well for that. So I can see, for me, there's a lot of reasons why this ticks the box for me. Not that it's going to tick the box for everybody else, but that it is... but that's why I picked it up, was because it really does. And then artistically, I think it's just really evocative and beautiful. So that's why I decided to go for it, and subject people to, I think I'll just leave this video up, but maybe put a warning on it that it's a bit convoluted as we try to suss it out and figure it out and everything like that. It's so people have fair warning, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's definitely a Kelly deck. I wish, again, it was normal, not I think I would actually like this oracle size, just because the artwork is really gorgeous, but at the same time I really like this spread this way. Like, I like the Triskel energy here with the three circles here. Yes, Naomi, that's a really good suggestion as well. Let me grab real quick. I think you'll see when you look at these other decks. So these are the decks that are always out for me on my Sacred Space. So I think it will become very clear why this kind of deck would appeal to me. But let's pull this. So this is a deck that I use all the time. So visually, you can see a color tone wise why this deck I think will work. This normally has colored borders. This is bad cardstock. And so I used it until the borders started flaking, and then I cut the borders off. So now it's in this iteration. It's actually holding up better without the borders, but I have several backups of this because I use it constantly. This is a Shaman's Oracle by John Matthews. So, you know, if I'm pulling from my, you know, three ancestors at the bottom of my reading, I think that I really actually like the circle aspect here. And I think visually it goes really well. So that I think I will definitely be using this deck in that way, and certainly in conjunction with this deck. I also agree with Miss Naomi that, you know, pulling a Weaver's Oracle and then maybe pulling a ally and a stumbling block. Sorry, now I don't even know what you can see here. Whoops. You know, pulling a Weaver's Oracle and then pulling 2 or even 3. 3 is my number, so I do like the use of 3. So pulling 3 cards with it, like visually it does look really well, and thematically I think that it goes really well. Even I think with, you know, the tarot deck that I most often use with these types of decks is my Crow Tarot, and even that, like, I think the color palette would work perfectly fine with it. You could definitely pair it. The other one that I always have on my table is the Illuminated Earth Oracle. And I think, again, that really goes quite well with this deck also. Look at that. So I think that I'm just trying to pull some random things there. So I think it would go really well with the Illuminated Earth Oracle as well. And these are all the decks that this, you know, that I do readings, that I would be doing the same type of readings with this deck. So it certainly makes sense why I was like, ooh, what is that deck? What is that deck? How did I miss that particular deck? So there you go. I appreciate you, those of you who have stuck it out through a bit of a convoluted, but I hope that if nothing else, that the takeaway you get is that A, it's really beautiful artwork, but B, there is a very intentional system at play here, and a progression of becoming that, you know, that wise elder, that medicine woman, that magician that people are, you know, that we're generally trying to progress through. We're trying to gain knowledge. We're trying to gain insight. We're trying to gain, you know, experience to become who we can be at our highest self. I think that that's, you know, this book, or what this deck is all about, for me, is what seems to be. Yes, and I do like what Jonathan said. There's a lot of circles actually in the Illuminated Earth, and so I think it would pair really well. Yeah, all of these decks, which are, you know, my main working decks, especially for me as personally, and they're always out on my altar, this deck will go really well. So so there you have it. Thank you for sticking out. I'm going to wrap this one up. I still have mucho work to do, but now at least I can shuffle this and try it out. And so thank you for allowing me to clear that off of my table, so to speak. And I will talk to you guys all later. It's been fun to play around with this. and hopefully it helps you see, oh, that's not the one for me. Again, in the description box, I have a link to the deck. I also have a link to Ascension Waves. She has a YouTube channel here, and on YouTube, obviously, and that's where that's the only place I've seen the deck. I really hadn't heard of it all until I saw her video. So if you're on the fence or still interested, I'd recommend you take a look at her video as well. So breathe, Kelly, breathe. Okay. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.